Good evening, Los Angeles. Thank you for joining me this evening here at City Hall. This morning, we woke up to some startling news that 3.28 million Americans had filed for unemployment, a new record in our nation. It's never happened before. Even at the peak of the Great Recession, even in the wake of 9/11, even in our country's darkest economic days, workers have never faced this level of uncertainty. But think for a moment about what that 3.28 million figure really means. That's a single mother who's been living paycheck to paycheck before this crisis, and she doesn't know now how she's going to provide for her children. It's the college graduate who is just starting to pay down those student loans to move on with his dreams, who now doesn't know when that will be possible. It's the restaurant worker and the restaurant owner who worry they may not see a packed house in time to save the restaurant. We hear you. I hear you. I feel and know the pain that we are going through right now, and I know each one of us is experiencing that. COVID-19 has forced us to make drastic changes to the way that we live, the way we work, shop, communicate, all of them critical to health and to safety. This pandemic has fundamentally upended our lives and our economy and our workforce seemingly overnight. And even if necessary, that comes with a cost, a significant blow to our households, to our bank accounts, our sense of security, and our families. This is dire, but it's not surprising. And in Los Angeles, we have been busy preparing for the shock of this economic outbreak, and have already taken steps to help struggling workers and businesses. With so many folks that are now working at home, I want to share with you a new site that we've launched tonight. It's coronavirus.lacity.org/getconnected. It details free and low-cost internet options for all Angelenos. Whether it's a student who finds herself at home needing to learn the guidance that's now coming out from her school or school district, whether it's a worker who's struggling to make those teleconferences work, but didn't have the connection that they needed. And there's relief that's coming from Washington too, a $2 trillion package. It's a survival package for our economy and our workers, delivering $1,200 per individual, $2,400 per couple, and $500 for each child in any family. These are for folks who need it most, not high-income individuals, but middle class, working class, and poor Angelenos and Americans. This legislation is unprecedented, and it certainly will help, but it won't go that far, especially when we know this crisis won't be over in just a week or two, or even a single month. With a long road ahead, many Angelenos can't wait for that federal relief check, and if they can, they know it won't last nearly long enough. People are losing their jobs and their paychecks now. And with rent coming due on April 1st, it's a reminder, if you cannot pay that rent because of this crisis, you cannot be evicted. From the beginning, I've made clear that this will be a process not of days or just of weeks, but of some months. That's why earlier this week we extended the emergency eviction moratorium to April 19th, and I'm prepared to extend that further as needed. This applies to both residential and commercial tenants, and the money owed will not disappear. After this emergency ends, residential tenants will have 6 months to pay it back. And I want to thank again the governor who's helping with mortgage relief, and hope that all banks will step up and help with the 3 months of relief for those who own homes, own apartment buildings, and hopefully commercial structures as well. No matter what happens, I want you to know that we are here to help you. I am here. And so are businesses across Los Angeles, with so many local manufacturers who've reached out to me and to our city and saying, how can I help? We're blessed to be a city that makes things. A lot of people don't realize this, but Los Angeles and Southern California is the manufacturing capital of America, making more things than any other region of the United States. And so here's how we are helping those companies answer the call. Today, I'm launching LA Protects, a partnership between the City of Los Angeles and Reformation, a a local clothing company, to organize the fashion and garment industry to make protective gear and other badly needed medical supplies for our frontline workers. And I want to thank Kaiser Permanente for their incredible guidance in putting together the standards that will help us produce these badly needed materials. They provided the specifications for a non-medical mask that we are open sourcing to the public. Let me be clear, N95 masks in short supply are for our doctors, nurses, and first responders. The masks that will be produced through this partnership are not N95 medical grade masks, but they're designed to meet the needs of other Angelenos on the front lines, from grocery clerks, non-medical staffs in hospitals, and others who are providing those essential services that we need to get through this. Garment and apparel manufacturers who are interested in joining us, and thank you to the dozens who have already stepped up, who have sewers and who have sewing equipment, those folks who want to help in this, please sign up today at coronavirus.lacity.org/LAprotects to be a part of this program and help us reach our goal of producing 5 million non-medical masks right here in Southern California. Angelenos step up, and I expect that to be the case here, and I'm so grateful to Reformation for leading this and the other companies who are going to work together to make sure that we meet the quality standards. To make this process seamless, LA Protects will match approved manufacturing companies with essential industries in need of masks, including the healthcare industry, grocers, takeout restaurants, delivery services, as well as food and beverage manufacturers. And I want to impress on all those amazing people who are helping deliver food and bring food to practice the safest and cleanest measures they can to ensure that you stay healthy, because we need you to keep doing your jobs. My team and our partners are ready to scale this mask manufacturing, and Reformation is working closely with Kaiser to design other items we may need down the line. And at the same time we're helping those frontline workers, this program will save jobs. Businesses that otherwise would have to keep their doors closed and furlough staff will be able to reopen. And we know that so many of the workers in our garment industry are immigrants, lower income workers from around the world who have come to Los Angeles for a better life. And this program reflects the very best of that can-do Angeleno spirit. It's also important to remember that ramping back up does not mean business as usual. There are guidelines for essential manufacturing businesses to follow if you're allowed to stay open. Employee workstations must be at least 6 feet apart, and there must be strict protocols on disinfecting workstations and high-use areas. Further information on those best practices can be found online, and I again call on businesses to sign up at coronavirus.lacity.org/LAprotects. I've always said that Los Angeles is a manufacturing capital, and now we're going to prove it. As we keep saying each day and every day, we cannot get through this crisis unless we are healthy and safe. It's that simple, and in many ways we're seeing clear-cut progress on public safety. Our police department tracks crime statistics every week, and something we've seen in the past 2 weeks as more and more Angelenos have stayed home is that crime rates are falling faster than the beginning part of the year, where they had already started to fall. Violent crime, property crime, Part 1 crime are all down significantly since this crisis began. Further evidence that everybody is heeding our orders, and further proof for all those texts or emails or rumors out there about things being unsafe, that they're just patently false. Protecting public safety also means reaffirming what we are saying constantly, that we are all safer at home. I've not hesitated to take tough steps and to make unpopular choices if I believe it will save the lives of the city that I love and its people. In recent days, we closed lots at Venice Beach, closed the Venice Pier, Runyon Canyon, Bronson Canyon, and many team sports facilities in our parks. Starting tomorrow, the parks will remain open for walking or jogging, but we will close all park amenities, including skate parks and tennis courts. We will continue doing what we have to do to prevent all gatherings. I don't want to do these things. I do them each with a heavy heart. Today would have been opening day for the Dodgers. It would have been amazing to be out there, to drink in a wonderful LA day, and to see our Dodgers on the way to what I hope this year could have been, and still, who knows, might be the year we go all the way. But each one of these steps and these things that we're removing, know that they are just temporary. They are not forever, but they are absolutely critical, and I need your help to continue with the discipline that you have shown, and I'm so proud of you. I know how tough it's been, I know how tough it's becoming, and I know how tough it will be, but we can do this, and we can do it together, Los Angeles. As long as we keep seeing images, though, whether it's packed trails or crowded beaches, we're going to keep taking clear, targeted action to protect Angelenos. And I know a lot of us sound like a broken record, issuing warnings, and it doesn't apply to the overwhelming majority of you. But I've been so proud to see Angelenos shaming each other. It's one of these times you actually have the mayor's permission to say, hey, what are you doing? Get away from each other. You're too close. Why are you going out? When you see behavior, help protect somebody. You're not just doing that to be a busybody. You're actually helping protect them and save their lives, potentially, as well. This is serious. And if you don't want to take my word for it, look at the numbers today. Today, there were 9 new deaths in Los Angeles County from COVID-19, and 421 new cases overall, bringing the number of confirmed deaths in our county to 21 and more than 1,200 cases. This represents a huge jump, my friends, an increase of more than 50% in a single day of confirmed cases, and an increase of more than 70% of our Angelenos who now have fallen. Even more disturbingly, we see that if this rate of increase continues, in 6 days we will be where New York is today, the same number of cases per capita as they are struggling through. But I'll be the first to say these are not numbers. These are neighbors. These are not statistics. These are the loved ones that are in our families and our communities and our workplaces. And I never want to report those numbers, as I will do each evening, without pausing and remembering those who have died, their lives, their connections, their contributions to this great city. And to those who are mourning tonight, I want to say our hearts are broken alongside you, and they will be throughout this crisis for too many Angelenos. Today, the United States overtook China as the country with the most cases in the world. And we're only on the front end of this curve by what all the public health officials tell us. It will get worse, but in the coming days, we will be together. And in these briefings starting tomorrow, I will tell you a little bit more about some of those projections experts are sharing with me, so that you know what you can expect in the weeks ahead. You deserve to know them as soon as I do, to prepare for what's coming. And behind these statistics are stories that we will stop to learn and to mourn. But we must be sure that these facts and figures provide us not only with remembrance, but with greater resolve to stick with this, no matter how difficult it feels, no matter how early it seems, no matter at what point we feel we have to listen to science and to data. All of my decisions come from that, not from a feeling and not from hope, but from the truth and what we can get from the experts looking at this disease. It's why we have to continue with tough measures, why we have to shut down cherished sites and local treasures as long as this emergency lasts. It's what we have to do to protect human life, and that is the most precious thing that we have. I also would like to take a moment and speak to my fellow mayors across the country, as well as governors and our leaders in Washington. We are only as strong as our weakest link. In Los Angeles, we are doing everything. We have sacrificed greatly and will sacrifice more in the days ahead. And many other cities and towns and states have taken the actions we did here first in Los Angeles and California. I was asked by a reporter today, is Los Angeles the next New York? And I said, sure, in the same way that New York is now the next Italy, and Italy was the next Iran, and Iran was the next China. And no matter where you live, you are the next. This virus doesn't care where you live. The media is reporting this sometimes in the national media, that there's hot spots on the coasts. But I just did the numbers before coming in here. In North Dakota, they're just one day behind us per capita. In Wyoming, the same. It doesn't matter if you're in a rural area. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city. It doesn't matter what party of the leaders, the state that you're in. This virus does not discriminate, and we must not discriminate in terms of our reaction and our actions that we take together as a country. And we have to continue to come together, whether it's consolidating all the buying that's going on that's become so competitive between cities and states and our federal government. We need to get the help to everyone. And here in Los Angeles, we're prepared not only to do our part for ourselves, but whether it's the manufacturing of masks, getting things in with hardworking longshore workers and truck drivers and warehouse workers through our port that will go into America, the time for us to come together as Americans is right now. And also to be Americans that engage with the rest of the world. Individuals who are hundreds or thousands of miles away may come into contact with people across this country, who then come in contact with people who are in Los Angeles, or they might fly or drive into our city. So this is a national undertaking. And as Angelenos are stopping everything and sacrificing their livelihoods, we need every single jurisdiction across the country to make sure that they are certain and doing the same things we are too. It's a fact. Any American who doesn't take these actions puts all of us at risk. Every time that anybody here or anywhere disregards public health orders on physical distancing, more people get sick. When more people get sick, with the rate of increase, one person in just 2 weeks can help spread this disease to thousands of people, not just where they live, but around this country. And when there's more cases, that means more people will die. So this isn't a time to break rules or flout laws. It isn't brave or cool to defy the authorities. It puts lives in harm's way. So I hope everybody takes this seriously and stays home. One thing's been clear since the beginning of this pandemic. This is a global crisis. The COVID-19 outbreak doesn't respect state borders or national boundaries. It affects all of us, no matter where we come from or what language we speak. And we've seen the impacts across the international stage. Travel restrictions from China and Europe, a dramatic slowdown in visitors from abroad at our airport that has hit our tourism industry and zeroed it out, even the postponement of the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Tokyo. As this challenge crisscrosses the globe, I know Los Angeles is stronger and better prepared because we've always been a global crossroads. And in a crisis, we might have to stop flights and face-to-face trips, but our toughest moments bring us together with the world, and we don't wall ourselves off from it. We engage with it. And we're using those ties to boost our response, connecting with partners and supply chains across the world, local businessmen and women who manufacture in China and Korea are helping us get the supplies we need to. I've spoken with mayors in Italy and Asia directly to ask their advice, called heads of state to coordinate assistance and to ask for help. And tomorrow I will lead a call with dozens of mayors around the world, from Europe, from Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, to hear what they are facing and what we can do to help each other. And tonight, I want to thank Shanghai and our sister city of Guangzhou, who are sending us masks and vitally needed personal protective equipment for our frontline doctors and nurses and medical teams. This is the power of partnerships. This is how we tap into our relationships in order to protect our people. This outpouring of global cooperation speaks to something we've highlighted in recent days in our own communities and lives, that even as we keep physical distance, we need to increase our social and spiritual connections. This challenge crosses borders, and so do our friendships. Even as we distance ourselves, let us not abandon our values. We can't accept xenophobia, whether it's what we've seen on college campuses or in Asian American-owned businesses or immigrant neighborhoods. We can never lose sight of who we are and the fellow human beings that are in need of connection, support, and strength. People who are bound by a common commitment to slow the spread of this virus, to save our economy, and to rebuild a stronger city and world. That's the spirit that we bring to this work. That's the determination and grit that I hold on to and that you hold on to every single day. Los Angeles, I'm so proud of you. As we look at the storm clouds above us, we still see that darkness. But we will get through this crisis together. So stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. Strength and love, Los Angeles. I'll now take some questions and also speak in Spanish afterwards.
Thank you. And our first question comes from Dakota Smith from the LA Times.
Hi, Dakota.
Oh, hi, Mayor. I was asking about the budget, writing about the budget.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Great.
Okay. Given that the city is likely to see a pretty severe loss of revenue in the next 6 months or so, or it's really unclear, and given that the city was already facing budget shortfalls going into or presently, would you say that it's in the realm of possibilities that you would approach the unions and ask them to defer raises or defer any other benefits that they recently got as part of those labor contracts that were just approved last year?
It's too early to say, Dakota, but we have to be prepared for everything. And I've always been very transparent with the employees we have here. We have no immediate plans. I was asked last night about layoffs. We do not plan any layoffs. But we just don't know how long this will take, and we don't know what the long term for 12 months, let's say, or 18 months impact will be fiscally. We haven't counted all the dollars because we're still waiting to see the exact programs that will be coming in assistance from the federal government and whatever the state continues to give us. And those may greatly soften the blow and ensure that we can continue keeping a strong economy here. And city employees and public employees in general are a critical piece of that. So no, there's nothing imminent. I would say to anybody out there, of course, the longer this goes and the more damage, we will do what we've had to do in the past. Sit down, cooperate, collaborate. We put some controls in immediately of making sure that there was a hiring freeze in the City of Los Angeles workforce. We made sure that department heads know that they are not doing anything besides critical city services and making sure that we respond to COVID-19. So we'll have to see in the days ahead. But my last thing is we put a strike team together on our budget to ensure that we can get through this, that we will get through this, that we will rebuild. And same time, a strike team on the economy to make sure how do we reboot this when folks feel like they've lost everything, when foreclosures feel like they have come through, what can we do to make sure that this city gets back on its feet as quickly as possible and those revenues come back in. So we will work collaboratively on that, but right now we're just trying to save lives. Next question.
Thank you again. 1-0 if you'd like to ask a question. And now to the line of Alex Michelson from Fox 11 News. Please
hey,
go
Alex.
ahead.
Hi, Mayor. You talked a little bit about the issue of the rent, and there are so many Southern Californians who live paycheck to paycheck. What's your message to the people that are concerned not only about paying the rent for this month, but in months to come because all of a sudden all their income's wiped out? And also, what's your message to landlords who now very much could not be getting rent from a lot of their tenants?
Well, it's exactly right, Alex. This is a domino effect. We have to think about everyday people who can't pay the rent. We have to think about those landlords that are mom and pop or small business owners for their ability to pay the mortgage. And then we have to think about the banks and make sure that the banks have the capital to support all of those, and that comes to the federal aid. In an ideal world, this federal aid, which is being talked about, allows banks with those conditions to allow for mortgage payments to be deferred or reduced, and that allows us, for those folks who can't pay any rent, and for those who can, I remind you, please do, because the economy depends on that. And if you can pay some, pay whatever you can. But those folks then, of course, we've said will not be thrown out on the streets. People will not be evicted at a time we're telling them that they need to stay home. I support, on top of that, making sure there aren't rent increases. We have some control over that on rent-stabilized units. We've talked to the governor's office with others to see if the state law would allow them to do that on non-rent-stabilized units right now. And wherever we can, to make sure that then the mom-and-pop businesses, and we've seen this both with commercial spaces as well as residential spaces. Now, under the good work the governor has done, we hope that the mortgage deferrals are not just for homeowners, but for those who provide badly needed housing. And without that, those folks will go under. I think for anybody who wants to see our housing not go into more and more consolidated hands of fewer and fewer companies, often out-of-state owners, we have to protect those landlords and protect those renters simultaneously. So those are the conversations we've had with both Washington and with Sacramento. Each of them has some authority over the banks, and it starts there, but in the meantime, we're not waiting. We're saying you will not be evicted. Next question.
Thank you. And now to the line of Mary Beth McDade from KTLA Channel 5 News. Please go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Just hearing from some small businesses, and they're saying that their landlords, despite what you're saying, that their landlords are still demanding rent and CAM charges. And what should these small businesses do that have had to shut down, and they have these landlords still coming after them for that money? Who can they turn to? Where can they go to for help in dealing with these landlords?
Well, they cannot be evicted. Obviously, landlords can still continue to charge, but we're telling people there will not be commercial evictions. And anybody who has an issue where they've been locked out or something in a permitted business can call us in the city. We'll make sure with our folks from the city side that we will be in contact with those landowners that they cannot evict and make sure that they are familiar with that law and that order. That cannot happen in the city of Los Angeles. Second point, though, of course, they can continue to charge. Don't let that frighten you. And those who can pay, please pay, or pay whatever you can. Again, sometimes these are not big corporations, but they may be somebody who's hanging on and without any payment feel that they're going to lose that altogether to the banks. So it's the same dominoes as what I was talking about before. We need to make sure that there is the support for our banks in this country. We need to demand that those banks give not just mortgage relief as they have done, thanks to the governor for homeowners, but for commercial properties as well, and that will give us all some time. This will not last forever. This is a solvable problem. The city doesn't have that jurisdiction directly, but we can enforce that nobody will be evicted. So call on us for that. In the meantime, please continue to push banks and at the state and federal level to make sure that those laws or those orders come from our national and state capitals to ensure that this whole system doesn't collapse. A couple months, if that's what it takes us to get through this, is something that we absolutely can protect and get these businesses back up. And to any landlord who's looking at kicking out a business, I would say to them, who else are you going to put in right now? Have a heart. I understand as well that you need to get those payments. So I would say to tenants, if you can pay something, do that to help them. But we're going to be fighting for you with the banks. Please don't do that to your tenants. Next question.
And that comes from Hugo Guzman from the Hub LA. Please go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Mayor Garcetti. Yesterday, BuzzFeed News reported that a Los Angeles woman had Kaiser Permanente refuse to fill a critical prescription that she needed to treat lupus, and they thanked her for her sacrifice. The medication in question was the chloroquine, which we've seen in the headlines a lot recently. Do you have any kind of comment on situations like that? What is the city doing to make sure that the ADA is being followed and that people are able to get their prescription medication?
Absolutely. So the first thing we did is in the order we ensured that pharmacies and those including places like Kaiser will stay open no matter what. People need to have their medicine. Second to that case, obviously, there was a lot of people who made a run on chloroquine and they thought that that would be something that could protect them. Do not do that because there are people that depend on that, have been prescribed that, and need that to survive or to treat existing conditions. So wherever we hear examples of that, where somebody is obviously doing anything illegal, as we've done with even hand sanitizer and price gouging, we've used LAPD to enforce that. Please call our hotline or call 311 and let us know of those situations. But folks, whether it's food or whether it's medicine or whether it's toilet paper, please don't hoard these things. Please remember that your actions can kill people. If they can't get access to the health care they need, if they can't get food, you're going to let them go hungry. We have to find the better angels. And I read an amazing op-ed piece today from a doctor who was saying it was sweet that every night at 8 p.m. people were going out of their windows and clapping for medical personnel, but what he'd rather have is the stockpile of everything that you've taken. Yes, keep your one bottle of hand sanitizer, but drop one off at a hospital today because there's none on many of the floors. The masks that people are taking home, sometimes from hospitals or that they've hoarded from other places. I know of somebody who came to my attention, had bought 10,000 of these masks and was hoping to make some money off it, now was asking, can we just buy them from him? These actions cost lives. So we will enforce, but I also want to appeal, because we know how we can each maybe give something back, help somebody out. We don't need groceries for the next 6 months. Do what's right, and trust me, it's not just in the interest of everyone around you, it's in your self-interest too. Next question.
Thank you. And that comes from Steve Gregory from KFI Radio.
Hey,
Please go
Steve.
ahead.
Good evening, Eric. Just quickly, I wondered if you wanted to weigh in, and what kind of a message do you think this sends, this internal strife between the LA County Sheriff and the County Board of Supervisors? I mean, after all, I know you kind of have your own operations center in motion, but we are in the county, and do you think this sends a bad message that there's this internal strife and conflict? Do you think it shakes confidence in leadership in a time of crisis like this?
I won't get in the middle of an intra-county fight, but I will say this, that we've worked extremely well with the county. And an emergency operations center works best when everybody can be there. We've had folks from council offices in ours, we've had people who are in the mayor's office, we've had professionals like I mentioned last night, our executive director from the Port of Los Angeles, the biggest container port, busiest container port in the Americas, doing things like procuring these medical equipments and masks and everything that we need. So I would hope that that can get resolved at the county. This isn't about who's in charge. This isn't about who's in control. This is about how we can help each other the most. As you know, we have 4 testing facilities that we opened. We're working now with cities across our borders, talking with our neighboring towns, how we can set up testing facilities in their areas. And sure, I could hold on to all of those tests and just do them for the people of the city of Los Angeles, but that's not who we are. I don't care what city you live in this area, you're still a human being. And I would just say I hope that ethic will permeate everywhere. And you know, the county has been an extraordinary partner for me, so I can't speak any ill will about any of the sides in the conflict, but hopefully that can get knocked out. We can continue doing the people's business and get back to work. Next question.
Thank you. And that comes from Claudia Tesahuda from KNX Radio. Please go ahead.
That's a new one, Claudia.
Hi, Eric. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that the figures that you gave last night for the coronavirus relief bill, the money coming to the Los Angeles area, that those figures still hold, and I don't know if you have any further details on that. And then you keep warning that the LA area may be 6 days behind New York, and you know, given the relatively low number of ICU beds we have available and ventilators and whatever other information you know, are you concerned that we may see situations here like we're seeing in New York where you have emergency room doctors begging for ventilators and a big rig, refrigerated truck being used to keep bodies? Do you worry about seeing that here?
Of course, Claudia. It's the most haunting images any leader could see, and it's difficult for me to imagine that it won't happen here. That's one of the most difficult sentences I've ever said, but no matter how well we respond, and I thank people for stepping up early, and I hope that flattens the curve, there is no place in America that will not be overwhelmed in terms of the number of patients who need ICU and other hospital beds and how many we have in this country. There is no place that won't be overwhelmed by needing more ventilators and not having enough. New York surged. We all care about and love New York, and so a lot of us even sent things there. Now Michigan's saying, oh, it's just about Los Angeles and New York, and we need help here. It has to be everywhere. This is when national leadership counts, when it matters deeply. We can't be fighting about who has the most political capital or the best manufacturing base. Human beings are human beings. But yes, to answer your question, we've been very involved early on in trying to procure those. Our governor has been very aggressive as well. We should be very proud of the work that he has done. We have a manufacturing base and individuals who have stepped up, whether it's people like Elon Musk who procured them, having a global supply chain to help out California and to distribute those, or folks here that are looking for how they can try to produce them locally and share them. We will not have enough, whether it's 6 days out at today's pace, or if we go back to what yesterday's increase was and it's 12 days out. A week or 2 from now, we will have images like we're seeing in New York here in Los Angeles. That's why I want to thank the medical folks who have stepped up, over 2,000 now who have volunteered to step into roles, whether it's at a shelter, a hospital, a testing facility, or more. God bless you and thank you. And know that we are sorting through all of those resumes and qualifications, working with the county, who's really the expert in healthcare, not the city, who can help hopefully farm some of that out. And know that each one of us, when you're thinking about going out if you have symptoms, or maybe getting together because nobody's going to see you, know that those images in Italy that then came to New York are coming here soon. And what each one of us does makes maybe one less image of that happen, one less bed, one less person who's suffering in a hallway, one less doctor who has to decide who lives and who dies. But the truth of the matter is, and people deserve the truth, there is no projection in which a couple weeks from now we're doing fine. This will be tough. And that's why starting tomorrow, I'll get a little bit more into some of those projections, working with a whole team of doctors and data scientists to help prepare us and hopefully help rally even more efforts to get what we need, where we need to get it, to get those excess beds in places, whether it's the convention center or tents next to hospitals, to get the child care up for our healthcare workers we will see being afflicted by this, and some already are. We have to pull together. We know how to do that, but we're going to need everyone's help to do it. Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you. And that comes from Leslie Marine from CBS
Hi, Leslie.
KCAL. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm okay.
Just piggyback off the question just asked before. When we're talking about this surge, you've talked about using different areas like the convention center possibly to house patients. Can you talk about if there are any plans for the convention center and what those plans are?
Sure. We're working through it right now with experts, with a whole kind of strike team just on the convention center. The county's working with us and the city together, Councilmember Price and others, looking at the spaces and the places. We believe that it's a good place if the county wants to use it, if hospitals want to use it, where we could have multiple sections that are separate from each other at the convention center doing multiple things. Some could be essentially a field hospital. Some could be a shelter for folks who are asymptomatic but homeless and should get off the streets. Some of it could be as a place to triage, and some could be a place where folks can go for testing and more. So we've got a lot of real estate there, I think 250,000 square feet, and we plan to use that. A lot of hospitals, though, have said, we want to put a tent right where we are. Cedars-Sinai is one of the first to do that. We want to put patients close by because if they get bad, we want to be able to have them close to a hospital, hoping that there'll be a bed. And I want to thank the county deeply, too, because they've been securing hundreds, and now the plan is, we met with a judge this morning, but 5,000 potential motel and hotel beds that will help our homeless population have a place to go if they're symptomatic and possibly asymptomatic. We need as many of those rooms as possible also for folks that are housed who might need to isolate, quarantine, but can't do that safely at home. Not everybody in Los Angeles has their own room. Not everybody can go to their own bathroom, even though those are the directions from Dr. Barbara Ferrer, from Public Health, that if you can, once you do come down with symptoms, self-isolate even inside your homes if possible. And for those folks who don't have those options, we have to be scrambling and looking everywhere. I do hope that the convention center will be part of the solution. We've offered that to the county and to any hospitals, and we're well into planning what that would look like. We also need the workforce to build that out, and so we've put out a request for that from the Army Corps of Engineers, but also we have an amazing group of construction workers here. We've been talking to their unions and seeing, if need be, whether they could help us build that out quickly. Thank you. Next question.
Comes from Howard Bloom from the LA Times. Please go ahead.
Hey, Howard.
Hi. I was wondering about this plan that you announced regarding connectivity at the beginning of this, and how does that fit in with what LA Unified is doing, which is also trying to connect its students and families?
It fits in right with it. That's one of the links in there. I want to give my congratulations and thanks to the district working with Verizon. I want to thank Verizon for offering that to families with children. But it also has, some folks may look at Spectrum and other places. We put all the information in one place so people can get connected, can make sure they have that information, and also know about things like getting free cell phones if you're lower income and have never gotten one of those, because that's going to be so critical as you're isolated. So it consolidates that, it's complementary to it, and it includes it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Next question?
That comes from the line of Lee Ross from Fox News. Please go ahead.
Hey, Lee.
Hey there, Mr. Mayor. As you well know, the Navy ship Mercy is expected to arrive into port tomorrow. What's the importance of that, and what's your understanding on how the local hospitals in FEMA will determine the flow of patients to the ship?
Absolutely.
And then secondly, if I can, you've mentioned multiple times this idea that LA is going to mirror New York City, and you cited the numbers where we are now and the fear that that's going to metastasize in the days to come. Beyond those numbers, what are you seeing, or what are you being told to think this will in fact come to pass?
So I'll start with the statistics. It's just I've been keeping it, my team's been keeping it. You look at the numbers, you look at the rate of increase, and then you project it out. We were doubling every 3 to 4 days. If today's number, though, shows a new rate of increase, it would be doubling less than every 2 days. So we just sit there looking at when do we get to the numbers in LA that mirror per capita the numbers we're seeing come out of New York. LA County's a little bit bigger, but almost the size of New York City. And that's 6 to 12 days, depending on that rate of increase each day. So we know it's going to be there. We have no expectation. I've looked at Italy, I've looked at Iran, I've looked at Spain, I've looked at other places. There's no place where that suddenly falls off a cliff and comes down rapidly. And we shouldn't expect it to go down to single digits, with the exception of what we saw in Korea, which had massive testing at the very beginning. The thing about testing is if you don't do it massively at the beginning, while it's still critically important for us now, it doesn't have the same effect as if we could get to 80 or 90% of people early on, isolate who has it, track down who they've talked to, call all of them, tell them to isolate, and really nip this in the bud. So testing is critically important, but every day that goes by, the testing is important for our doctors, important to see the trends, but is less effective on its own of finding all the people that have it and making sure that they don't get out there. Sorry, remind me the first part of the question? Are you still there? The Mercy, sorry. Thank you. So a smart person in the room just reminded me. So the United States Naval ship Mercy is an incredible ship. I'm so grateful to the president, the vice president, to the governor, to our senators, to supervisors. I certainly made call after call after call to our representatives. Everybody pushed really hard for that to come here, which is the largest metropolitan area now in the United States with New York, and that's where those two ships, the Comfort will be in New York, though it needs, I think, a few repairs. But this will be the first one to come into a metro area. When it arrives, this will be the largest hospital in Los Angeles. 1,000 beds that won't take COVID-19 patients, because the medical professional said we need relief from our emergency rooms, relief from our intensive care beds, relief from our normal hospital beds. So those folks will go on to, as they come, and maybe some existing ones now, will go on to the Mercy. That will free up valuable beds that today are 80 or 90% filled already to be able to deal with the onslaught of the COVID-19 patients that we see. And hospitals are trying to convert more beds. They're trying to add more spaces as we speak. The protocols for that are being worked out with, I think, the county and a number of the hospitals. The hospital association's been part of that. But essentially, we will, as we have those cases or some that can be transported there, they will arrive, be there in the Port of Los Angeles, be treated by the extraordinary Navy personnel that will be a part of that, and then that will free up beds for the rest of us. So I can't wait to welcome that ship. It couldn't come soon enough. Next question, please.
We have no more questions in queue. Mayor, please continue.
Thank you again to the press for your presence and for getting the word out and the message out. I really am indebted to you, and you're doing an amazing service to the people of LA. I'll say some words in Spanish as well, and we'll just switch out our interpreters. And thank you to our interpreters who are doing such an amazing job. Muy buenas tardes, Los Ángeles. Hoy despertamos a la noticia de que más de 3 millones de personas en nuestro país han solicitado beneficios de desempleo debido a la crisis de COVID-19. Estamos con ustedes en estos tiempos difíciles y sentimos el dolor y las dificultades económicas para nuestras familias y en nuestra comunidad. El coronavirus nos ha forzado a hacer cambios en nuestras vidas cotidianas para proteger la salud de nuestras comunidades. Sin embargo, esto ha tenido un impacto profundo en nuestra economía y fuerza laboral. Aunque todo es necesario, hay un gran precio en nuestras cuentas bancarias y la seguridad de nuestras familias. Esto es difícil, yo sé, pero estamos tomando acciones para ayudar a los trabajadores y comercios a sobrellevar este momento. Hemos agregado nuestros nuevos recursos y asistencia para trabajadores, incluyendo microcréditos sin cargos para pequeñas empresas. Y con tanta gente operando desde la casa, sea para trabajar, para buscar un empleo o para estudiar, hemos lanzado una nueva página web, coronavirus.lacity.org/getconnected, donde puedes buscar entre varias opciones para una conexión de Internet gratis o a bajo costo disponibles en Los Ángeles. Especialmente por los padres, nuestros niños, necesitamos tener esta conexión. Visite esta página de web coronavirus.lacity.org/getconnected. Y también está por llegar el alivio de Washington, un paquete de $2 billones para darle alivio a trabajadores de bajos recursos, familias trabajadoras y de clase media. $1,200 para cada persona, $2,400 para cada pareja y $500 para cada niño para las personas que lo necesitan más. Aquí en Los Ángeles también estamos para ayudarlos. Hemos extendiendo la moratoria a los desalojos hasta el 19 de abril y estoy preparado para extenderlo más si es necesario. Esto se aplica a residencias tanto como espacios comerciales. Si ustedes tienen problemas con su dueño, llama a 311 y nosotros podemos dar la información a su dueño. Y también estamos luchando con los bancos, asistir a los dueños de propiedades en Los Ángeles y California también. Y cuando se acabe esta crisis, tendrán 6 meses para pagar la renta. Pero no importa lo que pase, estaremos aquí para ustedes. Tantas empresas quieren ayudar y hoy les diré cómo. Hoy lanzando LA Protects, una colaboración entre la ciudad de Los Ángeles y la compañía Reformación para organizar el mundo de la moda y de fabricación para producir materiales necesarios y equipo de protección médico para nuestros trabajadores en el frente de todo. Quisiera agradecerle a Kaiser Permanente por su colaboración en proveer las especificaciones para las mascarillas de protección para el público. Pero sea claro, estas mascarillas no son el modelo N95 para médicos y enfermas. Son diseñadas para ayudar a trabajadores en supermercados y otros ofreciendo servicios esenciales. Maquillas en Los Ángeles pueden visitar la página web coronavirus.lacity.org/manufacturing para inscribirse y ayudarnos a lograr la meta de producir 5 millones de mascarillas. Este programa va a salvar empleos. Empresarios quienes hubieran tenido que cerrar sus puertas aún pueden seguir operando. Muchos de estos empleados son inmigrantes, quienes llegaron de todo el mundo para empezar una nueva vida aquí. Mi abuelo fue uno de estos trabajadores en esta industria. Este programa refleja ese espíritu de Los Ángeles, de apoyar a todos nuestros residentes. Igual, Todas estas empresas que participan necesitan mantener la sana distancia en sus lugares de trabajo. Y LA Protects también hará el trabajo de juntar empresas aprobadas para la fabricación de estos materiales con las industrias esenciales que los necesitan, como supermercados, trabajadores de entrega a domicilio y productores de alimentos y bebidas. Estamos viendo que nuestros esfuerzos para implementar la sana distancia están funcionando. Durante las últimas 2 semanas hemos visto que el crimen está bajando más rápido que antes. Y esto es aún otra prueba que nuestra ciudad está cumpliendo con el llamado a quedarse protegidos en casa. Gracias. Y seguiremos haciendo todo lo posible para asegurar la sana distancia. En los últimos días hemos cerrado los estacionamientos en Venice Beach, cerramos el muelle Venice y los cañones Runyon y Brownson y varias instalaciones deportivas en nuestros parques. Mañana los parques permanecerán abiertos solo para caminar o correr, pero cerraremos todas las instalaciones, incluyendo las canchas de tenis y pistas de patinaje. Hoy supimos que nuestro país ha superado la China en los números de casos de coronavirus que tenemos. Y hoy vimos que murieron 9 personas más en el condado de Los Ángeles. Y estamos en el principio de esta crisis. Estos números seguirán subiendo si no tomamos acciones para parar la propagación del virus. Desde el principio, esta emergencia ha sido internacional. Es una pandemia global. Y yo sé que en Los Ángeles estamos más preparados porque no nos cerramos al exterior, le damos la bienvenida al mundo. Mañana estaré organizando una llamada telefónica con docenas de alcaldes de todo el mundo para escuchar qué es lo que están enfrentando y cómo nos podemos ayudar. Nuestra ciudad hermana en China, Guangzhou, nos está mandando mascarillas y equipo de protección para médicos, enfermeras y nuestras personas de salud. Este es el poder de nuestras relaciones con otras ciudades. Esto me recuerda que aunque estemos manteniendo sana distancia, podemos profundizar nuestras conexiones sociales. Nunca podemos olvidar quiénes somos. Somos todos seres humanos quienes necesitamos conexiones, apoyo y fuerza. Nos unimos en el deber universal de parar la propagación de este virus y salvar vidas, vidas de nuestros vecinos, de nuestras familias, de nuestra ciudad. Y es el espíritu que traemos a nuestro trabajo y la determinación que nos mantiene todos los días durante esta crisis. Así lucharemos y superaremos esta crisis juntos. Por eso, quédense protegidos, quédense en buena salud, quédense en casa. Fortaleza y amor, Los Ángeles. Gracias. Thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow.